haven't been drawing a whole lot recently, and I figured the solution to my problems is a fifth sketchbook. Yes, I have 5 sketchbooks on the go right now, but to be fair, one of them I only use a couple times a year. To get over the feeling of not wanting to ruin a sketchbook, I have different sketchbooks with different purposes. This one is kind of an offshoot of my personal sketchbook. On my Patreon, it's called Personal Sketchbook 2. In my personal sketchbook, I like to only draw from life, but that rule is kind of limiting sometimes, so this one is personal sketchbook but from photo and video. So yeah, I just wasn't drawing very much, and I finally realized I don't necessarily want to learn anything right now. That's not really what motivates me. I just want to be happy and have fun drawing again. And for me, that means drawing animals and watching them move around and kind of studying their behavior as I draw. Drawing in my personal sketchbook from life kind of taught me to just relax and enjoy the process and to kind of care more about the process than the finished work, because when you're drawing from life, it doesn't always look good because it is quite difficult. So I wanted to find a way to take that joy I have from drawing from life and to be able to do that in my living room without having really anything interesting on hand to draw. So I got spoiled drawing from life, and now I don't really want to draw from photos, but a good in-between is videos. I decided to draw from video because it lets me see the character of the animal and also like the progression of the different poses they take. As we go through this video, especially starting now, you'll see as this gibbon kind of like reaches and looks at something and then pulls back, and then her attention is drawn somewhere else. Anyway, you'll see all that. What kind of surprised me is that video actually really lets me understand the 3D form of the animal, because I'm watching it rotate and turn and go from pose to pose. My brain is able to kind of construct what the whole animal looks like. And more so than if I just looked at a bunch of pictures from different angles, because I'm actually watching the animal turn their head and I understand those forms as they turn. And I used to have a whole routine when I was studying animals where I would study the skull and kind of try and simplify it and do like all these different views of the animal in a quite an analytical way, and then I would do gesture drawings. But I'm just having fun. I'm like, you know what? I have no clue what a gibbon skull looks like, but that's okay. And so I think that is maybe part of the reason that the first 4 drawings are so, they're not really right. They don't really have the character of the animal, because I'm learning as I go instead of doing all this preparation beforehand. And there's actually a huge benefit to going in unprepared, which I didn't expect. Not knowing all the anatomy beforehand kind of just forces me to take my best guess. And especially since I draw in such a simple style, it does work. For example, I really don't, especially at this point, I didn't understand what their feet looked like. And the video is kind of grainy, and I was like, it just looks like a triangle. I'm just going to draw a triangle. And you can actually get a lot of character in little triangle feet. You can angle them different ways. Same with the hands, and especially the wrists. I was kind of learning that as I go. So I feel like I'm also learning some problem solving, which is something that I have a really hard time with. And actually one of my main goals in my practices is to get away from being tied to photo reference and being able to just change things however I want. I realize because these drawings look so simple, it probably doesn't seem like I'm doing any problem solving, but there's actually a lot of thought that goes into these because every line has purpose. For example, I'm not just placing those little hairlines randomly. I usually try and place them somewhere that signifies something, like muscle separation. I actually started learning human anatomy recently, and I'm using a lot of it with these cute gibbons, because their anatomy is very similar but kind of stretched out and weird. So as simple as these drawings are, I wouldn't have been able to draw like this 4 years ago when I started studying anatomy. And I realize that sounds contradictory because I just said that I don't know gibbon anatomy, but I have a general knowledge of animal anatomy, and that really helps. I learned animal anatomy before studying human anatomy, and these gibbons are kind of like an interesting in-between, like I'm using knowledge from both areas. And I'm glad I decided to draw these guys because primates kind of freak me out because they're a little too human. Like to me, they get into the uncanny valley. But gibbons I think are cute, so I'm glad I decided to draw them. Now I remember a time when I would never draw straight in pen. I had to do a pencil sketch first, and it took me about 45 minutes and tons of erasing to get a drawing that was kind of okay. And I was also super tied to the photo reference. Like if there was a bit of grass covering the animal's feet, I couldn't draw it. Or if they were in a pose that looked kind of awkward, because that just happens a lot with photography, I had no choice but to copy that pose even though it looked wrong. So after several years of working to fix that problem, going back to basics and studying the fundamentals, this is kind of like my reward. Getting back to what I said earlier, I've been so focused on learning, and that just hasn't been what interested me lately, and I finally realized that. So now I'm just enjoying the fruits of my labor. If you like these sketches and would like to see more, I scan and upload the sketchbook to my Patreon, and you can look at it for free. I've had a lot of free members joining, so I wanted to offer something for them as well. And I also have my main sketchbook, which is very important to me, and I keep that one behind a paywall, but it's only $3 a month. I don't know, Patreon is like, they tell you what language to use when talking to your audience about your Patreon, and it feels very weird the way they suggest to do it. Basically, I shouldn't give the impression that you would be doing me a favor by joining, which is stupid because how cool is it that I get to make a bit of money just for doing what I love, just drawing in my sketchbook. And even the free members mean a lot to me because I know that someone that joins my Patreon for free, as opposed to like Instagram or something, they're much more interested in my art. And it just feels like a more personal audience. Just like a little group to show my sketchbooks to. And there's no algorithm that messes with me mentally like on Instagram. The air conditioning just turned on, so I hope that's not too annoying. If you have any suggestions for animals that you'd like to see me draw, I would love to hear it. And I'm even more open to like weird animals, more so than in the past. Like I was very focused on vertebrates. Are fish vertebrates? Vertebrates with legs. Because those are the hardest to draw, I think, like more so than a fish or a beetle or something. But now that I'm just having fun, I'm like, yeah, I'll draw whatever, as long as I enjoy it. I'm even thinking, my friend introduced me to the haunts meme, so now I'm like, it'd be funny to draw horses, but like have regular horse reference images, but then draw haunts. I like drawing animals with high contrast markings because it works really well with this pen, like especially an animal that is black and white. So I'm thinking a tapir would be fun to draw. Also, forgive this current drawing I'm working on because I should have stopped sooner. It was good at one point and then I overworked it. I thought of another thing. As this page went on, I started to exaggerate the length of the arms. Or so I thought after I looked at it the next day. I was like, actually, that's pretty accurate. Like what I thought was an exaggeration is actually more accurate than my first drawings. Which is a thing I've noticed a lot when I try and be reserved and go for accuracy. It actually looks less like the animal than if I have fun and push what I see. Like and subscribe. I have 500 followers. I would like 1,000, please. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.